Hello, my name is Anene Ifeanyi. I'm the head of the Business and Compliance Unit at DCSL Corporate Services Limited. I'm here to answer some questions on our recent article on content creation and then content creators too, and how it affects them within the Nigerian sphere right now.
All right, thank you. In this article, you mentioned that the Nigeria's digital landscape is no longer informal. For a creator who started in their bedroom 5 years ago, what is the single biggest legal shock they should be prepared for today?
Okay, so 5 years ago is a long time, but I would say in our present sphere right now and within Nigeria right now, content creators are no longer treated as single individuals. They are now being looked at as business operators. They have to pay taxes, right? They are being regulated by the FIRS, right? Even the state revenue services, and they are also being vetted, right, in respect of how they operate with their banks and income they generate. So those are part of the things that have shifted, that have changed from where they used to be. The content creating business has become very lucrative.
Thank you very much. Okay, so another aspect is that many creators will see themselves as just individuals that are making videos and maybe being compensated as a result of large engagements. But at what point does a creator legally transition into a platform or a service provider that requires some form of licensing from the NBC and the NFVCB?
Okay, so my response to that would be volume, right? So at what point, you mentioned at what point did they migrate?
Yes.
Right? So to me, that would be at the point where the volume at which you're putting out the contents, right? The volume at which you are creating this content and then the revenue generated, distribution scale, right? Once you get to that level, you're definitely on the brink of being regulated as an over-the-top service.
So now to the issue of minors in skits.
Okay.
What should owners of this digital content have in place or look out for before engaging minors in their skits?
Okay, so this is a very good question. I will always advise, right, for the skit owners and content or the owners of these platforms, make sure that when dealing with a minor on any skit, right, written consent is gotten from the parents or his guardian, and it must be signed and documented to make sure that there is no misconception either now or in the future. And then most importantly, right, there needs to be a content release form, right, that determines at what point the child is released from liability on those contents.
Okay. So on the OTT licensing, the NBC is pushing for the registration of OTT over the top and streaming platforms.
Yes.
Does this mean a YouTuber with a massive following could eventually be treated as a traditional TV station in the eyes of the law?
Okay, so for right now, as it is today, no, but eventually that could be where we will get to, right? Because at the end of the day, the idea behind the licensing of the OTT is at the like I said, repeated, at the volume in which you're sharing those contents, right? What you're putting out there, the revenue you're generating.
Okay. Due to the unemployment rates and poverty in the country,
yes,
lots of individuals have resorted to content creation as a means of livelihood. Don't you think over-regulating it might discourage and in turn increase poverty in the land?
So like you mentioned, somebody's trying to start out, right? Need for license, fees for licensing and all might not be the most biggest priority of his right now. If needed to do that, pay for regular licensing and all, might make the person discouraged from getting involved or trying to embark on that line of business. But I would conclude on saying that it is, I believe, right, that regulation at the moderate level, right, is important and should be advised on, because at the end of the day, we need to protect what is being put out there to the general public.
So finally, if you were to give a regulatory startup kit to a new content creator starting today, what are the 3 most important documents they should have in their arsenal?
Okay, so like I mentioned at the beginning of this, the content creating industry has grown beyond some wide imaginations. It has expanded, revenue has been generated. So it is no longer that small industry it used to be, which means everybody involved needs to be able to do things properly and put things in place. Now, if I was advising someone going into the industry or someone already in the industry that has not done any of this, first and foremost, I would advise that you register it as a business. Get your registrations done with CAC, right? Get your team number, right? Make sure you have those things handy, because you will not be treated as a business, like I already mentioned, not as an individual anymore, because of what you do and how you generate funds. Then secondly, you need to make sure that your contracts are in place. In other words, what I'm saying is, if you do not have a lawyer, get one, right? Because you need to be able to have tight, neat contracts that protects you, protects your livelihood and what you do. Finally, there needs to be a compliance checklist, right? Make sure that you get approvals from the necessary regulators on which you operate within, right? So those are my advice, right? When it comes to legal compliance list for what a content creator should know about: your registration, your contracts, right, and release forms, and then make sure you are up to date with your regulators, you have the necessary filings and your certificates. So those are the important things you should know.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.